The Indian economy faces an incomes problem despite overall GDP growth, leading to debates on job reservations. Economists question the government's job creation data, attributing the issue to current policies rather than past ones. In the US, despite positive economic indicators, a majority expressed dissatisfaction, emphasizing the importance of fair wages. In India, the challenge lies in insufficient transition from agriculture to manufacturing, with jobs lacking security and skill development. The article advocates a paradigm shift, valuing caregiving and promoting local, socially oriented enterprises. Policymakers are urged to prioritize people's voices over historical statistics for future-focused policies.
Child abuse is widespread in India, with two-thirds of children experiencing physical abuse and over half facing sexual abuse, according to a 2007 study. The article highlights the overlooked link between child abuse and animal cruelty, citing studies that show a correlation between the two. In instances of domestic violence, threats and violence towards animals are used to coerce children into silence. Animal abuse is often easier to detect and report, serving as circumstantial evidence in child abuse cases. The article urges investigation into this link in the Indian context, emphasizing the need for better enforcement of anti-cruelty laws to protect both animals and children from violence.
Ongoing Supreme Court proceedings address concerns about governors' conduct in India, particularly their prolonged delays in granting assent to bills, causing frustration for elected regimes. The court's scrutiny of Tamil Nadu Governor R.N. Ravi's 3-year delay in assenting to bills underscores the issue. Preliminary observations suggest a review of Article 200 of the Constitution, dealing with bill presentation to governors, is imminent. The larger concern demands a clear legal stance, clarifying the power of governors and limiting their discretion. The court must establish authoritative guidelines to prevent uncooperative governors from exploiting constitutional ambiguities.
The Israel-Hamas deal, mediated by Qatar, offers a temporary ceasefire and humanitarian relief to Gaza's 2.3 million people. In the agreement, Hamas releases 50 hostages, and Israel releases 150 Palestinian prisoners, with a 4-day halt in fighting. Israel's promise to extend the ceasefire depends on additional hostage releases by Hamas. Israel's military response to Hamas' 7 October attack has killed over 13,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children. The deal signals a willingness for dialogue amid intense conflict, urging both sides to build on the momentum for a sustained ceasefire, hostage release, and lasting relief in Gaza.
Justice Anand Venkatesh of the Madras High Court has directed the Tamil Nadu government to create a deed of familial association, providing legal status to relationships for same-sex couples and LGBTQA individuals. The order counters the recent Supreme Court decision that refused recognition of the right to marry or have civil unions for same-sex couples. Justice Venkatesh's innovative approach shifts from statutory limitations to contractual agreements, offering protection against harassment and discrimination. The directive urges the state to establish the framework for recognizing such relationships through registrations and potentially enact legislation for civil unions, setting a progressive precedent.
A controversial cabinet decision allowing Tiavan Bialis in Odisha to transfer their land to non-Tiavan Bialis under the Orissa Scheduled Areas Transfer of Immovable Property by Scheduled Tribes Regulation 1956 (OSTEP) has been put on hold by the Naveen Patnaik government. The decision faced resistance from tribal communities and activists concerned about potential abuse, opening floodgates for tribal land transfer. The OSTEP, a stringent legislation, aims to protect tribal interests, and the proposed amendment could impact tribal identity, demographic landscape, and exacerbate class divisions within tribal communities. The government's move is currently on hold, with opposition parties demanding a complete withdrawal.
The financial challenges faced by Indian Railways, exacerbated by the pandemic, have led to a shift in focus towards AC coaches. The railway's attempts to increase revenue include reducing the number of sleeper coaches and emphasizing higher-priced AC coaches. The operating ratio, or, for Indian Railways, measuring spending to earn 100 rupees, rose to 107 rupees in FY22, reflecting financial strain. The Railways aims to mitigate losses by promoting AC 3-tier coaches, which have historically generated consistent profits. Financial pressures also stem from increased expenditures on salaries and pensions. The move raises concerns about social service obligations and affordability for commuters.
The Punjab and Haryana High Court has invalidated a 2021 Haryana law mandating 75% reservation for locals in private sector jobs. The Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act, 2020, was deemed unconstitutional and in violation of fundamental rights. The law required employers to reserve 75% of jobs below a specified salary for residents. The court ruled it violated the right to carry on trade or business and discriminated against individuals from other states. While the state defended it as protecting local livelihoods, the court highlighted Article 19 and Article 35 constitutional concerns and criticized the law's Inspector Raj elements.
The UK Supreme Court has deemed the government's policy of transferring asylum seekers not considered by the UK to Rwanda unlawful. The Migration and Economic Development Partnership, MEDP, aimed to create a mechanism for such transfers. The court found evidence that asylum seekers faced a real risk of ill treatment from refoulement. The ruling emphasizes concerns over the legality and treatment of refugees in Rwanda. Critics argue that simultaneous voluntarism from both the UK and Rwanda to guarantee safety is impossible, raising doubts about refoulement risks and potential implications for other EU countries.
The Lokyatas, ancient Indian materialists, based their philosophy on perception as the foundation of knowledge, rejecting innate ideas and divine agencies. While often associated with pleasure-seeking, their ethic, encapsulated in the Sanskrit dictum Vajjeviti Sukham Jeviti, while living, life well, focused on maximizing life's value. They rejected the idea of an afterlife but recast notions of heaven and hell in earthly terms. Rejecting ritualistic excess and societal conventions, the Lokyatas advocated for freedom in thought and social matters. Despite historical criticism, their impact on shaping bold philosophical canons endures.
A study published in PLOS Biology reveals that lower oxygen levels at high altitudes significantly increase the lifespan of aging mice. This is the first study demonstrating that oxygen restriction, or continuous hypoxia, can extend the lifespan of an aging mammal. Previous reports on oxygen restriction extending lifespan were based on less complex lab animals. The study involved mutant mice with accelerated aging, living in hypoxic conditions similar to those at the base camp of Mount Everest. Mice in hypoxic conditions had a median lifespan of 24 weeks, 50% longer than those in normoxic conditions, highlighting the potential benefits of hypoxia.
The upcoming COP28 climate talks in Dubai are expected to focus on reducing methane emissions, a potent but short-lived greenhouse gas that contributes significantly to global warming. While carbon dioxide, CO2, often takes the spotlight, methane leakage from fossil fuel infrastructure poses a pressing concern. Methane, responsible for 16% of warming, has a warming impact 28 times greater than CO2 over a 100-year period. Agriculture, particularly livestock and rice cultivation, is a major source of methane emissions, along with the energy sector. Rapid cuts in methane emissions from fossil fuels could prevent up to 0.1 degrees Celsius of warming by mid-century.